to majority, the Bagi people in Kujama. And all efforts to get back their land has been abortive. Reason being that the prison authority uses this land even as commercial entity where they give it out to people on rent and dues are paid to the prison authority. It's a very big infraction on the people because if their land will be taken and used for commercial purposes without any compensation to them, I think their rights have been deprived. So they've written this letter of complaint so that the National Assembly could look into it and the issue addressed appropriately. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Please proceed and lay the petition. Any more petitions? Okay, this is the last petition for today. Petitions referred to the Committee on Public Petitions. Chairman, Rules and Business, please, could you move that we suspend the rules to take more than at least one matter of urgent public importance?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff, I represent the good people of Buruku, my dear colleagues. I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do suspend the provisions of Order 8, Rule 4, Sub-Rule 4, to enable the House to take more than two matters of urgent public importance. I so move.
Seconder. Honorable Kaide.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kayode Oladele. I represent Mekoa from Yewa North Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I'm from Ogun State. I rise to second the motion as properly moved by the Chairman of Rules Business. I so second. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Start with the point of order from Honorable Barrister Mohammed Musa Soba. Quickly, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Honorable Mohammed Musa Soba. I have a matter under matters of urgent public importance, and it has to do with motion for a holistic investigation into conditions of service governing the tenure of elected public officers, political appointees, civil servants, and chief executives of public-owned companies and corporations, and the operational cost of extra-ministerial departments, parastatals, bodies, agencies in the executive, legislative, and judicial arms of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the purpose of documentation and public enlightenment. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Doedri.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My esteemed colleagues, I am Diri Daoye, representing Yenago Akolokumo Pokuma Federal Constituency from Bayelsa State. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by my colleague from Kaduna. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Secondly, the rules have already been suspended. I guess we can proceed to take. So, Honorable Soba, please move your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, once again, I'm Honorable Mohammed Musa Soba, representing Soba Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm a proud member of the S Assembly. And we all know over the years how the federal legislature has been castigated, vilified, and blackmailed over what is generally termed as operational cost of the legislature. Looking at the scenario, the way and manner the legislature is being blackmailed over this thing, now I found it convenient to bring this matter to the floor of the House for the public to know that it is not only the legislature that has operational cost. We have three arms of government. We have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And perhaps because the legislature is the only arm that is 100% elected by the Nigerian people. So people find it outside there to blackmail the legislature because maybe that is the easiest way of coming to this National Assembly. I did not come here to make money as being insinuated by people. We are being perceived outside as people who are here not to do anything but to make money. If I needed money, I would have been a contractor, Mr. Speaker, not a federal legislature. So for that reason, if we look at the critical composition of all the three arms of government, you find out that, as I said earlier, only the legislature is 100% elected. In the executive, only two people, the president and the vice president, are elected representatives of the people. When you go to the judiciary, none is elected by the Nigerian people. They are professionals handling their own thing. So therefore, it is time, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, let's excrete the operational cost. Mr. Speaker, sorry, let me go through the body of...
No, you have already finished the debate. So you now move the motion and I will help you put the question. Then we'll end it there. Okay. Can you speak to your mic, please?
The House knows with keen interest and concern the public rancor about the operational cost of running the National Assembly as a legislative arm of government. Recalls that this type of rancor has always trailed each session of the National Assembly, although it is largely informed by assumptions, ignorance, misinformation, and alternative facts inspired by various motives, elements, and groups, some of whom are politically opposed to the institution of the National Assembly as an arm of government. Disturbed that the searchlight for transparency regarding the conditions of service of public officers is often not beamed on the executive and judicial arms of government, and to that extent, a selective targeting of the National Assembly by the promoters of this type of campaign, and therefore unhelpful in the search for truth and justice in this matter. Supportive of the constitutional rights of Nigerians to freedom of expression and opinion, and to receive and impart ideas and information without interference, as provided for under Section 39, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, now resolves that an ad hoc committee be set up to investigate the various conditions of service governing the tenure of public officers, including political appointees, civil servants, and chief executives of extra-ministerial departments, parastatals, bodies, agencies, and other institutions of government, including public-owned companies and corporations under the control of the executive, legislative, and judicial arms of the federal government of Nigeria. That the ad hoc committee shall further inquire into the operational cost of running the federal government of Nigeria by whatever name, including security votes, running cost, service-wide votes, impress, contingencies, etc., in compliance with Section 88, subsection 1, AB and 2AB, and Section 891, AD and 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. That the Constitution, that the committee be strongly guided by the constitutional powers exercisable by the National Assembly under Section 228B, which says to expose corruption, inefficiency, and waste in the execution or administration of laws within its legislative competence and in the disbursement or administration of funds appropriated by it. That the outcome of this holistic investigation should serve the purpose of identifying illegalities, excesses, or infractions of the law in any departments or levels of government, if any, and for the purpose of guiding the public debate on the subject matter, which for now remains a monologue and one-sided in the absence of fair hearing extended to all relevant arms of government, the National Assembly inclusive, that the report of the inquiry be documented and made readily accessible to interested publics in the furtherance of access to public records as provided for in the Freedom of Information Act 2012. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Osai will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. I represent the Kwani Federal Constituency of Delta State, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable members, I rise to second the motion as moved by my fellow colleagues from Kaduna State. I so second.
Honorable Soba, I guess you have exhausted the debate. Well, I'll still give you 2 minutes, and then I'll put the question, since the motion is an investigative motion.
Okay, quickly, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we are in a situation where security boards cannot provide security for us. The service-wide boards, they are not wide enough to render any service. And the impressed are not readily available to impress anybody. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, I move that we conduct this holistic approach so as to unveil and unravel the mysteries surrounding all the operational costs of the three arms of government. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, this is an investigative motion, so we may not want to put the cat before the horse. And as it said, if you want to slaughter a bull, you don't show the bull the knife. So I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Second point of order from Honorable Emeka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I'm Honorable Dr. Chukwuemeka Ujam. I represent the good people of Nkano East and Nkano West Federal Constituency. I'm from Enugu State. I come under Order 8 to please urge the House to accept this matter of critical, urgent national public importance. It's an urgent need to provide emergency relief materials to the people of Abogugu and Oboka in Enugu State. It's a joint motion by myself and Honorable Toby Okechukwu. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, Honorable Nkiruka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Kiruka Onyejoka. I represent the good people of Ikwatu Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Emeka. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Emeka, you can now move the motion since the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Once again, I'm Honorable Dr. Chukwuemeka Ujam, representing the good people of Nkano East and Nkano West Federal Constituency. And I come from Enugu State. This is a matter of public importance that relates to two federal constituencies, that of myself and that of Honorable Toby Okechukwu. The House notes the unfortunate occurrence of a very severe and heavy rainstorm on Monday evening, April 23rd, 2018 at Abogugu, Ogu local government, and Uboka in Nkano East local government area of Enugu State. The House is aware that the said rainstorm destroyed over 100 homes, aside schools, farms, and other public facilities, and led to the displacement of over 1,000 persons in the state, including women and children. We're concerned that despite the intervention of the Enugu State Emergency Management Agency, a lot more relief materials and assistance are needed for the people of the affected areas. We're alarmed that students and pupils of the affected areas are currently out of school, coupled with the disruption of daily livelihood of our people. The House therefore resolves to call on the National Emergency Management Agency to urgently provide relief materials and activate the process to reconstruct their homes, schools, farms, and public buildings so as to restore the daily life of the people. And also mandate the House Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance with this resolution. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, Honorable Mrakpo.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable members,
My name is Onye Mechi Mrako. I represent Anyocha Oshomili Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Delta State. I rise to second the motion as moved. Thank you.
This is a disaster-related motion, and in line with the provisions of our rules, I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Next point of order is from Honorable Sadiq.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Sadiq Ibrahim. I represent Fufore Song Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, my motion is on the need to address the planned repatriation of Nigerian refugees from Cameroon. And since the chairman rules and business have moved that we suspend our rules, I move that the motion be taken now.
Seconder, Honorable Namdas.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Abdrazak Namdas. I represent the people of Enye, Jada, Tongo, Mayabelo. I am from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my colleague, Honorable Sadiq. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Sadiq, you can now move your motion.
Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand to move this motion for this House to note, Mr. Speaker, that in 2012, at the peak of the Boko Haram insurgency, thousands of Nigerians from the northeast fled their homes to neighboring countries of Cameroon, Niger Republic, and Chad, where they sought international protection and safety. Mr. Speaker, that since 2015, many of these refugees have been gradually returning home by road from Cameroon through Sahuda at the immigration outpost in Mubi South local government of Adamawa State. I want the House to further note, Mr. Speaker, that even in October 2015, during the uprising in Central African Republic, Nigerians living there were safely repatriated by road through the immigration outpost of Sahuda. I want the House to be informed that there are currently 4,566 refugees in Minawao refugee camp in Cameroon who have indicated willingness to return home, and plans are underway for their safe repatriation to Nigeria in accordance with the standard operating procedures, SOPs for repatriation. Also informed that to mitigate the hardship on the refugees during the repatriation, a tripartite agreement between Nigeria, Cameroon, and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees was signed, in which it was stipulated that the return of the refugees will be done by road, and the government will undertake the immediate rehabilitation of the road from Sahuda to Mubi and improve the refugees' reception facilities in Mubi, as well as to facilitate the transportation for logistics, in addition to providing the refugees with start-up package in cash or in non-food items, including free medication for 6 months. Mr. Speaker, I want to further inform this House that by the said tripartite agreement, it is also stipulated that a budgetary requirement for the repatriation should focus on the 4,560 refugees from Adamawa as a pilot phase, by keeping in mind a second allocation for Borno State, as once these 4,560 refugees of Adamawa origin begin returning, their fellow refugees from Borno State will follow suit. I want this House to be concerned, Mr. Speaker, that in breach of this tripartite agreement, that the evacuation will be carried out by road. The National Refugees Commission has decided to do the evacuation by air at the cost of 2 billion naira. This House should be disturbed, Mr. Speaker, that the rehabilitation is scheduled to commence on 1st June 2018 without, at the moment, any adequate preparation, and so far, over 180,000 refugees who have returned to their communities in Adamawa are living in abject poverty without any substantive support from the federal government. And I'm worried, Mr. Speaker, that this unilateral decision by the National Commission for Refugees is not only a breach of the tripartite agreement, but will incur avoidable expenses and cause unnecessary stress and hardship and loss of means of livelihood to the refugees who will be in temporary shelter in Yola before proceeding to their final destination in Mubi, Michika, and Madagali. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I move this House to urge the federal government to to hold the planned repatriation of 4,506 Nigerian refugees by air from Cameroon, scheduled to start on 1st June 2018, and to invite the Federal Commissioner for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons to appear before the Committee on Internally Displaced Persons, Refugees, and Initiatives on the Northeast Zone to explain the unilateral decision and why the Commission breached the tripartite agreement between Nigeria, Cameroon, and United Nations High Commission for Refugees on the modalities of repatriating the 4,506 Nigerian refugees from Cameroon to Nigeria. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Nur Sharif.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable colleagues. My name is Mohammed Nur Sharif, representing Bama Ngala, Kalabarke Federal Constituency. I'm from Borno State. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by Honorable Sadiq. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
This is an investigative motion, and Honorable Sadiq was quite elaborate in the course of moving the motion. All the issues are there and will be further investigated by the committee. So I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. The last point of order was going to be on the intimidation and perceived persecution of Senator Dino Milaya by the security agencies, by his Honorable Karimi Sunday, but it appears he's not on the floor. Is he around? Honorable Sunday Karimi. He's not here. So we'll move on to our substantive business for the day. The first business of the day is presentation report of the Conference Committee on the Bill for an Act to establish the Nigerian Maritime University of Krekonko, Delta State, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. Honorable members will recall the bill was referred to the committee on Thursday, 1st November 2017. Report is ready for presentation, and Honorable Osai is now invited to present it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. I represent local Kwani Federal Constituency of Delta State, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House do receive the report of the Conference Committee on a Bill for an Act to establish the Nigerian Maritime University of Krekonko, Delta State, and for related matter 2018. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kamali.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Adamubi Kamali. I represent Michigan Madagali Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I stand to second the motion as moved by Honorable Osai. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Osai, please proceed and lay the report, if you can. Honorable members, second business of the day is presentation of 3 reports of the Committee on Defense, standing in the name of Honorable Mukhtar Betara Aliu. Honorable Betara is now invited to present them. So you will move for the presentation of all the 3 at once.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Mukhtar Betara Aliu. I represent the good people of the Bayo-Bekusarshani Federal Constituency and from Borno State. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I have 3 reports to present to the House. This House do receive report on Committee on Defense on a bill for an act to amend the Armed Forces Act Cap 820 laws of the Federation 2004 to, among other things, provide the specific duties of armed forces reserve in order to serve in the rapid response mechanism with capacity to intervene in an emergency in internal security where Nigerian police were overwhelmed, provide armed Secondly, the appointment of Chief of Defense Staff to make appointment of service chiefs subject to the confirmation by National Assembly and other related matters. HB 70411149-S02. And this House will receive the report on Committee on Defense for a bill for an act to repeal Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria Cap D4 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and to enact the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria and related matters HB 399 and a bill for an act to establish the Security Services Welfare Infrastructural Development Commission to provide, among other things, management and review of the state of welfare infrastructure of the security services and related matters HB 83. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dr. M.S. Abdu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Dr. Muhammad Sani Abdu, Al-Karirikiri Federal Constituency from Bauchi State. I humbly stand up to second the three motions moved for the presentation of the three reports by the Defense Committee Chairman, Honorable Mukhtar Betra Aliu. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Betra is invited to lead the report. Honorable members, start business of the day's presentation report of the Committee on National Security and Intelligence on investigative hearing on the sources and actual ownership of the $43 million recovered from a residential apartment at Osborne Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. Standing in the name of Honorable Aminu Sadi Jaji, honorable members who recall the matter was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 26 April 2017. Report is ready for presentation, and Honorable Jaji is now invited to present it.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm Honorable Aminu Sadi Jaji, representing Kaura Namuda, the Magajipara constituency. I'm from Zamfara State. I rise that the House do receive the report of the Committee on National Security and Intelligence on the investigative hearing on the sources and actual ownership of the $43 million recovered from a residential apartment at Osborne Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, held up 169/2017. I so move.
Honorable Ija Boima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for pronouncing my father's name appropriately. I want to appreciate you, sir. I remain Honorable E.J. Akwanjima, member representing the good people of Ego, Bubaha Federal Constituency, Edo State. I rise to support the report by my honorable brother, Honorable Judge, that the House will receive report of the Committee on National Security and Intelligence on the investigative hearing on the sources and annual ownership. I hereby second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Judge, please proceed and lay the report. Honorable members, the fourth business of the day's presentation report of Committee on Aviation on the MD-83 Dana aircraft door fall-off at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. Standing in the name of Honorable Nkiruka Onyejocha, honorable members who recall the committee conducted the investigation pursuant to Order 18, Rule 17, Sub-Rule 2C of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives. Report is ready for presentation, and Honorable Nkiruka is now invited to present it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Kiruka Onyejocha, represent the people of Usugwatu Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. I move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Aviation on the MD-83 Dana aircraft door fall-off at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, pursuant to Order 18, Rule 17, Sub 2C of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives. I so move.
Honorable Rita Oji.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and distinguished colleagues. My name is Rita Oji, member representing Ajeromi, Ifelodu Federal Constituency from Lagos State. I rise to support the motion ably moved by Honorable Nkiru Kaisum.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Nkiruka, please move and lay the report. Honorable colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion and request to include the sum of 496,374,470 US dollars in the 2018 appropriation bill for the purchase of Super Tucano aircraft from the United States government, standing the name of the House Leader. The leader is now invited to move the motion. The absence of the leader, our permanent acting leader, will take the motion. Honorable Osai, your point of order. But you should allow the motion to be moved first before you raise your point of order.
Please.
Oh, you have to stop the motion.
Please, Honorable Osai, be guided.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. I represent Nokwa Okwani Federal Constituency of Delta State, Mr. Speaker. My point of order is under 8 sub rule 5. Mr. Speaker, on personal explanation.
Personal explanation? No. Personal explanation? What is personal to you about this? Personal. Okay. So let's know how it's personal to you.
Personal explanation, you recall, Mr. Speaker, that on 17th of this month, a matter was raised by Honorable Toby Okechukwu to the subject matter that is going to be discussed today. And that matter, Mr. Speaker, you rule. And if you rule on that day referring such matter to be investigated by 2 committees, Committee on Ethics and Privileges and Committee on Finance. Mr. Speaker, you know your order cannot be reversed in lines with our rules, except through upon a substantive motion to reverse such order. And Mr. Speaker, when you give us this task to investigate this matter and make necessary recommendation to the House, it requires, Mr. Speaker, to inform Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues that the matter is being looked at and the committee is yet to bring out.
Please. This is a sustained point of order, so I need to rule on this before you can raise another point of order.
Please.
So, Honorable Osai, are you done with your submission? So please round up quickly.
So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, except the House discharge us of this duty, because the matter going to be discussed today is bringing a motion to invite, which the committee ought to do, to invite necessary persons to really know whether such matters can be included into the budget. I don't know if the committee has been discharged from that function, so that we can know before a majority that raise another motion referring it to another committee to invite so people, government functionaries, to appear to verify whether those matters are to be included in 2018 budget or not. That is the issue, Mr. Speaker.
Please, honorable members, please. Honorable members,
please, I don't want us to belabor this matter. So, Honorable Osai, I don't know if you were on the floor. I think on Tuesday. What we set up your committee to do was a journey of discovery. And that was to confirm actually if the money has been paid, and then we can now take the appropriate decision. But now there's a letter to say that yes, the money has been paid. So automatically you are divested of jurisdiction because there's nothing for you to discover for us again. because there's a letter that says the money has been paid. So that automatically relieves you of that obligation to provide us with information as to the status of the disbursement of the money. So I think we can take the motion. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. You have given your ruling, but I just want us to be on record that Honorable Osai came to cite a point of order after that particular item on the other paper has been passed. I don't want any other person in future to make that mistake. We have started the business of the day. The other paper listed personal explanation as one of the items. So if you want personal explanation order to be cited, it has to be done before the starting of the business of the day. So you came at the wrong time and it is not appropriate so that other colleagues will not make that mistake again. So you came at the wrong time to cite your personal order.
Chairman, rules and business.
Honorable Osai, be guided, please, next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff. I represent the good people of Buruku. My dear colleagues, I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, indeed, apart from what the DS is saying, I've always wondered, because if you look at Order 8, Rule 5, for emphasis, let me just read it quickly. By the indulgence of the House and the leave of the Speaker, a member may make a personal explanation, although there be no question before the House, but no controversial matter may be brought forward or may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms, emphasis now, the terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in extenso to the Speaker when his leave to make it is sought. So we have been abusing this. Now the opportunity came up with the DS intervention. I think we should take note. Thank you.
So, Honorable Osai, I hope you are properly guided. So next time, oh, you consulted him. So does the rule say with the leave of Chairman Rules and Business? But you didn't consult me. But as a Democrat, I allowed you to express your views, and that is okay. So, Acting Leader, please.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marti Monguno Ganzai Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, the motion reads thus: request to include the sum of 496,374,470 US dollars in the 2018 appropriation bill for the purchase of Super Tucano aircraft from the United States government. The House notes that on Tuesday, 24th April 2018, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria sent a message to notify the House of Representatives of the decision to purchase Super Tucano aircraft under a direct government-to-government arrangement with the United States of America. Also note that the President, having considered that this highly specialized aircraft is critical to national security, granted presidential anticipatory approval for the release of 496,374,470 US dollars, which was paid directly to the Treasury of the United States government for the purchase of the aircraft. Informed that in the said letter, the President sought the approval of the House of Representatives for the sum of 496,374,470 US dollars, or in Naira terms 151,394,421,335 Naira, to be included in the 2018 appropriation bill currently before the National Assembly. Also informed that the balance of the requirements for critical operational equipment is still being collected from the different security services, which its financial implication will be presented in form of a supplementary appropriation bill to the National Assembly for approval. Resolves to invite the Honorable Minister of Defense, Finance, and other appropriate officers to brief the House on the need to include the sum of 496,374,470 US dollars or 151,394,421,335 naira in the 2018 appropriation bill before the National Assembly. I so move.
Second, Nasir Ali Ahmed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Nasir Ali Ahmed. I represent Nasara Federal Constituency, and I'm from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this motion, ably moved by the House Leader, Acting House Leader. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
So we'll take the debate, those for and against. Leader, start. Honorable Osai has a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. I represent Dokwa Okwani Federal Constituency of Delta State, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues. My point of order is on Order 80, Sub-Rule 2. Mr. Speaker.
Silence, please. Please, honorable members, let's...
Order 80 or Section 80?
Of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I will gladly read. Yeah. No money shall be withdrawn from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, except to meet expenditure that is charged upon the fund by this Constitution, or where the issues of those money has been authorized by an Appropriation Act, Supplementary Appropriation Act, an act passed in pursuant of Section 81 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, this motion main intentions is to invite the various ministers to tell National Assembly whether to include it in 2018 budget. Because this money has been spent, it then means not authorized. Mr. Speaker, if we urge ourselves that the Constitution has empowered us to authorize the expenditure of the executive, to authorize the expenditure of the judiciary, and to authorize the expenditure of the legislature, Mr. Speaker, the Constitution says act.
Please, honorable members, please.
The Constitution says act and not a bill. The act has been subjected under legislative scrutiny, signed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, whereby the President withheld assent the National Assembly can use to third to override and it becomes a law. The Constitution is talking about law, not bill process. And now we are urging ourselves to invite executive to come and tell us whether to include it in the budget or not.
Also, are you raising a point of order or debating the motion?
Please, Honorable Osai, please be guided.
Okay, please round up quickly. Raise your point of order, let's know.
In establishing the foundation as laid by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Mr. Speaker, this matter ought not to be discussed at all. Except we are telling ourselves we don't know our rights. Because if we know our rights, we act based on the Act of National Assembly. And now this one is not a bill, and we are urging ourselves to ask the executive to allow us initiate a bill and put it in a bill process that is going on. This matter ought to be thrown away and not to be discussed at all. That's the issue. Mr. Speaker, I urge the mover of this motion to withdraw it immediately. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
How do you find it?
Do you withdraw a matter before discussing it? The whip.
Speaker, my honorable colleagues, my name is Alasan Ado Dogwa. Mr. Speaker, I represent Dogwa to the Federal Constituency. I am from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I would like to just take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to, while slightly accepting some of the submissions made by Honorable Nicholas Osaye, in trying to look at the procedure of the matters we are addressing on the floor of this House. I agree with him that may be some foul place. I agree with him that may be some things that we need to really look at and address. But that does not stop us from taking this matter and we get to the bridge before we cross it. Yes. So I want to plead that Osaye, you have to wait. Yes. By our proceedings, by our president, Osaye has to wait until we get to the bridge. Then we cross it together. We are all Nigerians, and nobody here will rise against an act of impropriety. Nobody here will rise in protection of an act of impropriety. But whether we like it or not, we have to give it due consideration, due diligence, due process, and we now take a more collective and more coherent position when we get to the right time to do that. Osaye, Nicholas Osaye, I plead with you to understand with the opinion of this House, and you must respect precedents and tradition of our proceedings. Please. Thank you.
Chair, rules and business. We are coming this way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Because what?
Okay, Jeff. I represent the good people of Buruku, my dear colleagues. I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I find today very, very interesting. I find today very, very interesting because the part that I was doing, that I was being heckled, is the same part today that people want us to talk, and they're looking so righteous about it. When this letter was read, now what I said then was that apart from the Appropriation Act, the Major Appropriation Act, when the president comes here in a joint sitting and places there, all other acts of appropriation are brought by communication from the president and is deemed as first reading. I was heckled when I said that. Now, I said it wasn't going to be by motion. Now, but look, I was corrected that there are two ways of doing it. One way is that if we bring this by a bill, if we bring it by a bill first, it will mean that we'll have two bills of appropriation. What the president is asking for is an insertion there. We can say no. For God's sake, I have been on TV on more than one occasion where I attacked the president spending this money without the act of appropriation. So I have established my pedigree in this matter. But when it comes to the floor, we have to do things according to what our procedures say we should do. That has been my position, not about the substance of the case. As for the substance, when I stand up, I will condemn the act that was done by the president. But for procedure, we must follow procedure. Now, that has always been my procedure. Now, is it right? Now, let me address the matter.
Please, honorable members, please, honorable members, silence, please. Silence and listen to him in silence, please.
My dear colleagues, let me now address whether it is right to have this motion or wrong. Is it right? Is it wrong? Now, what this motion seeks to do is to find out whether indeed we should go to include this in the Appropriation Act. Look, if listen now, listen to me. Now, if after interfacing with the minister, as the prayer seek, we decide that we are not going to include it in the appropriation, that is the end of the matter. That is the end of the matter then. But if we decide the minister convinces us, we then do the right procedure. That is what this motion seeks to do, to my understanding, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Please.
You know, honorable colleagues, this is just, we are just on the preliminaries yet. We are not even looking at the substance of the matter. We are discussing procedure. Honorable Osaye is of the view that we shouldn't even entertain the matter in view of the fact that he's alleging constitutional breaches. But other members are saying, how do we come to that conclusion without a debate on the matter? So the issue of procedure to be followed on this matter.
Silence, please.
And
please.
Deputy Minority Leader wanted to make a contribution, and then I'll take few before we decide.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Chukwuka Onyema. I represent Obaru Federal Constituency of Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, I listened carefully to what the Chairman Rules and Business said. Sir, you're talking about procedure. That is what we're kicking against. That is what he raised the point of order against, the procedure. And you cannot build something on nothing. If it is not there, it is not there. You cannot build anything on nothing. There is nothing as it is. The point of order he raised is that it shouldn't even come up in the first place. This shouldn't come up. You cannot, laws don't act in retroactive. It shouldn't come up at all. That's what he's saying. And it's the procedure that we're talking about. And you still want to listen to it. There's no...
Please, silence, please. Please, members, silence.
So, Mr. Yes. It should have come as a bill anyway. If it's a money bill, then we'll now talk about it as a money bill. But you're bringing it as a motion for us to decide. And I mean, let's not do the wrong things and set a precedent here. Please.
Honorable Frederick Munir.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Agbeji Yejemne Frederick is my name. I represent Sabama Kremo Federal Constituency. Izonkeme, I am from Bayelsa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we are talking about procedure and convention. We are talking about procedure and convention, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, we are trained to do this legislative duty, carry out our responsibility as legislators in this house. And Mr. Speaker, in the course of our training and by procedure and also convention, Mr. Speaker, you know that you cannot in this house talk about bring a bill through a motion. Anything that has to do with appropriation, with finance, with cash, figures, has to come by way of a bill, not by way of a motion. Mr. Speaker, what is desired is that the leader should come by way of a bill to fulfill procedure and convention in this house. You cannot do appropriation with a motion, and anything other than a bill is an abuse of due process and convention, and that is what honorable members are against. Mr. Speaker, you are the presiding officer of this house, and you know the procedure and the convention. I urge Mr. Speaker to guide the house appropriately so that we are not seen to be abusing procedure and convention. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'd recognize Munir. After your submission, DS will make submission, then we'll go on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Munir Babada Nagundi. I represent Kumbota Federal Constituency of Kano State. Mr. Speaker, like what I said when the letter was read last week, I am still on it. Section 82. I want to read it before everybody. And I want to believe, even if Mr. President has not written to the National Assembly, I do not see anything that has been committed. Yes. He is still within the law by section 82. Yes. And I read. Constitution. Yes. So why did he write it? Wait now. If wait now. Read. I think.
No, let him read section 82 of the Constitution. Let's hear him, please. Please. Read the section. Use your mic.
Yes, it's what they are trying to intimidate you. If the appropriation bill, in respect of any financial year, has not been passed into law by the beginning of the financial year, the President may authorize the withdrawal of monies from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation for the purpose of meeting expenditure necessary to carry on the services of the government of the Federation for a period not exceeding 6 months or until the coming into operation of the Appropriation Act, whichever is earlier. Then it goes, Mr. Speaker, provided that the withdrawal in respect of any such period shall not exceed 6 months the amount authorized to be withdrawn from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation under the provisions of this Appropriation Act passed by the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Munir, please, in order to save our time, our fiscal year runs for 12 calendar months. And the budget of 2017 was passed in May. So we still have an active budget till May. So this point of order is totally unhelpful. Doesn't help at all. Yes, please.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Lasun Yusuf. I represent the record room. I represent the record room Oloruda Orodu, Osogbo Federal Constituency. I'm from the state of Osun. First, I want honorable colleagues, it's a matter of procedure. I just want to...
Please, silence, please. Silence, please. Please, honorable members, please, silence, please.
I just want to see whether my contribution will properly guide the House. First, the only way the President can communicate with the National Assembly is to write, which he has done. And of course, if you look at other paper, for the period of the session, whether the President writes or not, is always there as communication from Mr. President, which shows it's very important that he should write on whatever he wants to do. So that's the first angle. The second angle on procedure is that it is true that an Appropriation Act will come by bill. But don't forget that the 2018 Appropriation Act is being worked upon. And so as long as it has not been approved, there is no way you can come by another bill within such a bill. The one we have on ground first must be approved, and you must come as a supplementary bill. So that's the first thing. So those who are asking, those who are asking that it should come by a bill now is belated, because we have gone through our will. Listen, please. Let me run through it first. Let me run through first.
Silence, please.
It's belated because one of the most important points in bill is public hearing. And we have gone past public hearing. Please let us listen. We are talking about procedure.
Please, members, please.
Public hearing is an important part of a bill making. And we have gone past public hearing. And so it will be. Then finally, the motion we are discussing now is not, the resolution is not even asking us that it should be included. Somebody can, by amendment, stand up here and say that prayer should be deleted and put whatever you want to put in it. It's still a procedure. It's still a procedure unless you are saying it does not exist. Somebody can say, I will enjoin members, since this motion has been moved, I will enjoin members that we go to the prayer and amend the prayer and see the direction of the House. But as far as we are concerned, what we are doing here is correct, and we are not including it in the appropriation bill. That is what the motion is saying.
So to proceed, I'll take some intervention from some senior lawyers on the floor. We'll start with, wow, so many lawyers are raising their hands, so I don't know what...
Point of order, sir. Order, sir. Point of order.
There's no point of order because we are on a sustained order. I need to rule on this order before you raise a point of order. We'll start with Honorable Aminu Shehu Shagari. You know, the whip too is a lawyer by association.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Aminu Shehu Shagari. I represent Yabo Shagari constituency in Sokoto State. I rise to air my view on this, but I'm coming not as a lawyer. I want to speak as a legislator. Now, mine is an appeal. Honorable colleagues, we know that, I know that our sensibilities have been offended. We feel our powers have been usurped. But the issue is that let us use our sense of responsibility here. Every day we come here, we talk about security issues. Almost every day our people are killed and our country is in a very serious situation. This is a security issue. The harm has been done. As far as I'm concerned, the harm has been done. Now, that is what I'm saying, that our powers have been usurped because there has been an extra budgetary spending. There's no doubt about that. But now what we're trying to do is to see the procedure in which we look at this as responsible citizens of this country and to see the best way forward, and which is to allow this motion to be debated, and then we see the best way forward. I appeal to my honorable colleagues to please let reason prevail and let us discuss this issue as honorable men and women of the parliament. Thank you very much.
Honorable EDC.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Chief Barrister EDC Lovett. I represent the good people of Ethiop East and West Federal Constituency of Delta State. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm a proud Robo Chief. Mr. Speaker, the issue before the floor on procedure concerning what is before us in our order paper. Mr. Speaker, I believe this House is not in the business of retroactive legislative procedure. What we are being asked to do here is more or less indict this entire assembly. And we cannot sit down as lawyers, knowing the implication of what we have been asked to do, to consciously indict ourselves. If there is an illegal procedure, we do not correct it by another illegal procedure. If it was in the days of the decree, where somebody was not found culpable by a tribunal, and they go behind and rewrite the decree just to make it culpable, if that is why we're here, I think we're rather chasing the shadow and leaving the substance. So, Mr. Speaker, the process is unconstitutional. It goes against democracy, and it goes against every principle of law. And I believe that we should adhere strictly by the Constitution that we have sworn to uphold. Section 36, subsection 8, makes it clear how retroactive legislation is highly prohibited in this Constitution. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, before we move further, let us be guided. Thank you.
So if any contribution will be made, please, we should try and avoid areas that have been covered. Honorable Gabriel Africa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gabriel Onyenwife is my name. So, Speaker, I represent I am a federal constituency. I'm proudly of APGA political extraction. Mr. Speaker, the point of order raised by Honorable Osai is the one I want to align with. Mr. Speaker, this is a house guided by the rules of the house. Mr. Speaker, appropriation before it becomes an act is a bill. Order 12 of the House rules guides the procedure on how bills are considered until it is passed into law. There is no provision therein wherein a bill has been committed to a committee and the bill is under consideration. It has not been brought to the committee of the whole, where it is provided, no matter what, that a motion will be brought in connection with such a bill that has been committed to the committee. Whoever says it is provided under the rules, let him cite for us. Mr. Speaker, the motion, as far as to the best of my personal opinion, is just a surplusage that need not have the time of legislative hours or time be wasted on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Wayo, we'll take intervention from the lawyers first and then we can.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Honorable Benjamin Yorembe Wayo. I represent the good people of Kwande Ushongo Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I align myself completely with the submission.
Honorable Kamale, we are on a sustained point of order. We haven't ruled yet, so you can't raise a point of order on a point of order, please. So, Honorable Wayo, please. Can you speak to your mic?
I align myself completely with the submissions of the Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the prayer of the motion,
we are not addressing the substance of the motion, please. We are on procedure. Please.
The procedure, in my view, is correct and is proper. This because this House will have the opportunity to hear from the people to be invited to this House, Honorable Ministers of Defense, Finance, to know, to explain to us the need of including this in the 2018 appropriation bill. And I feel, Mr. Speaker, that since the appropriation act of 2018 is not yet passed, it is not too late to consider this request that is being made by Mr. President, sir. This is my submission.
Honorable Kayode.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished colleagues. My name is Kayode Oladile. I represent Imekoa from Yewa North Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I'm from Ogun State. As you have directed, Mr. Speaker, this is not considering the content of the motion, but the procedure. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that one of the problems that successive administration in this country, particularly the executive, has been facing is on this issue of what is the status of the excess crude account vis-a-vis the Federation account. If you look at the Constitution, the excess crude account is not something that is envisaged in our Constitution. And therefore, when they want to withdraw money, they look at it and say, well, we don't know the status. What do we do? That is the thing. But, Mr. Speaker, what we have going on right now, we have various ministries, departments appearing before various committees whose responsibilities are to consider this type of request. Ordinarily, Mr. Speaker, even assuming without considering that a breach has been done, what they should have done, the executive should have done, was to write a letter to the committee in charge of this defense, instead of to the committee, to the House, because appropriation bill will be presented for consideration as a second reading and a third reading. But if they want us to do this, even if we agree that the various security heads should come, and we agree that should be included in 2018 appropriation, we will eventually direct it to be submitted to the chairman of the committees involved. To that extent, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, sir, what I would suggest is that even though it's not the entire money that has been paid.
Silence, please. Please, honorable members, silence, please.
And if you look at the letter itself that the president wrote, he said there was a time factor. Time was made the essence of the agreement, and that they ought to pay within a particular time in order for the order for that plane to commence, even if the supply at the end of the day will be in 2020. Yet, Mr. Speaker, what the executive ought to have done was to have written this letter sent to the National Assembly, to REP, to this particular committee in charge of defense. So I would suggest that instead of this House constituting itself into a committee of the whole House now to debate whether or not this letter or this thing should be included in the appropriation, it is rather inappropriate. It should be sent to the committee in charge for consideration. If that committee in charge feels that should be included in the appropriation of 2018, the committee will do so, and they will send it to the appropriation committee, whose responsibility will now be, Mr. Speaker, to bring it to the House for consideration. That is my submission, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
We'll go to Honorable Pajok.
I'm a lawmaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, my name is Edward Pajok. I represent Just South and Just East. Mr. Speaker, on the question you raised, I submit that we should be guided, first of all, like the DS said, with a prayer that we are being asked to resolve on. And the prayer says we should invite the honorable ministers of defense, finance, and other appropriate officers to brief the House on the need to include the sum of $496 million in the 2018 appropriation bill before the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, let me start from the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria itself, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason that informed that prayer is the need for us, however much we may feel that we have come to a decision, to give fair hearing. And fair hearing, Mr. Speaker, is provided for in Section 36 of the Constitution, Sub 1A, which says, provides for an opportunity for the person whose rights and obligations may be affected to make representation to the administering authority, in this case, we are the ones, before that authority makes the decision affecting that person. Mr. Speaker, it is only fair for us to come and hear them. We ask them the questions. It doesn't stop us from taking our decision, but let it be seen in compliance with this constitution that we give them the fair hearing to say, look, come and justify what you have done in line with the constitution. Mr. Speaker, finally, Mr. Speaker, finally, Mr. Speaker. All right. Finally, Mr. Speaker.
One house, please.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to money, to money bills, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we are guided. The House, by the ruling of the Speaker, considered the letter of the President to be the first reading of the bill. Yes, that was the ruling. That was the ruling. So, Mr. Speaker, by Order 19, Rule 10, and also even Rule 15, any member may move an amendment to any provision in the estimate because this appropriation bill has not yet been concluded. It can still be ordered, altered, or varied because we have not yet even passed the bill yet. So, Mr. Speaker, based on these two provisions in the Constitution, I believe that it will only be right for us to hear them. Let us hear them.
Silence, please.
To determine whether because we still have the final say. We have not said we're shutting them out. Let us hear them. We now ask them questions. Then they will not be justified in taking our final decision. That's my position, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Arabo. Well, Honorable Sajos, I didn't know about that. I've recognized Arabo face. Okay. Honorable Sajos, please take your seat. Honorable Arabo, you speak first before the senior advocate of the masses. Sajos speaks. Honorable Arabo.
Your learned colleague was supposed to speak first. Your learned colleague was already on the floor.
Okay, who? Oh, you recognize me now?
One house, please, Honorable Arabo. Others will speak, there's no problem about that. Let me take contributions from guidance. I beg your pardon. Honorable Arabo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, Simon Arabo is my name. I represent Confederate Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, the issue on the floor, as it relates this motion, is the issue of procedure. Now, if you look at Section 81 of the Constitution, a money bill must be activated by the President, by the Executive. Now, a communication was sent to this House in which there is an admission that monies were spent without appropriation. That one is a different kettle of fish completely. Admission is the best form of evidence. But having said that, since the bill for the purpose of the 2018 Act, Appropriation Act, has been sent to the National Assembly, what the Executive ought to do in the circumstance is to, after the letter, is to send an addendum to the appropriation bill of 2018. Whatever they want would now be articulated in that addendum to the bill. And the law is that the President does not have to come here and lay it. No. All he needs to do is to transmit it through any of his ministers. What ought to be done is that there must be an addendum to the bill, which will now be processed in line with the current bill, but not to try to include the issues of this expenditure which have already been done through a motion. So I believe that the procedure is wrong. What the leadership, what the House leader ought to tell the Executive is that they should send an addendum to the 2018 appropriation bill for the House to consider it. That should be the proper procedure, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable Sajos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly esteemed colleagues, I am Sejus Ose Ogun. I represent Eastern Southeast, Eastern Northeast, and I'm from Edo State.
Senior lawyer.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I am a lawyer and I was in the law school and I have my MBA certificate. I was called to bar. Mr. Speaker, I will just add to what my colleague just said. And with your permission, I will read section 81, which I believe we all know.
No, we have taken judicial notice of legislative notice of section 81 and 82. So no problem. Just go ahead and make your submission, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's the point I am making. The point I am making is exactly section 81.
82.
And 82. And if it's section 80, to go back to what my dear friend, Honorable Kayode said last time, I said it the last time we debated this. We should go back to the genesis of this. When did the US, this is a government-to-government transaction. When did the US government make this offer to Nigerian government? Because if you follow section 81, we still have a running budget today. And they are out there. The executive are out there sponsoring all manner of people against us that we are holding down this country for not passing 2018 budget. And now they are bringing matters to be included in 2018 budget. They say we should have passed for them in December. And till we do the right thing in this country, Mr. Speaker, they will continue to scandalize us. They will continue to rubbish this house. So the point I'm making, why did section 80 say that if you have to make withdrawal from any account, whether SS crude account or any account, it must be as prescribed by the National Assembly? Why did the framers of this constitution say that? Otherwise, they will sit down there and be spending our money without authorization. That's exactly what they have done today. And we are sitting down here looking for colorful ways to color this and allow it to go. Mr. Speaker, you should not go. We should tell them the right thing. They should do the right thing. Till we begin to do the right thing in this country, we will not go anywhere.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Sergius. Honorable Lawal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, my name is Lawal Abubakar. I represent the people of Yola North, Yola South, and Gire. I'm from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the issue, the point of law, the point of order raised by Mr. Osai, Honorable Osai, section 80, subsection 2, is not watertight. It's something that is flexible. And moreover, I tend to also align my contribution with Honorable Pajo, the senior advocate. And based on that, Mr. Speaker, I would like you to at least permit me to quote in extenso the framers of this constitution, our founding fathers. I don't want to dwell on the issue of technicality, but our founding fathers, what they said, if I can quote, in explaining the doctrine of separation of power, Chief Obafemi Olo, senior advocate DCOF, said about separation of power in his book called The Voice of Courage, page 172 to 175. He said, Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote part of it because it is a very long quotation. He said that while the judiciary must be detached and independent from each other, the legislature and the executive must work closely and harmoniously collaboration with each other. If the welfare of the people is to be truly effectively served, it is quite clear that the objective of the legislature and the executive are one and the same: to promote and serve the best interests of the people. If they work at cross purposes or refuse to collaborate with each other, the interests of the people will be seriously jeopardized. The point is reinforced on the ground of plain common sense. When the two persons or agencies are charged with joint responsibility to achieve common objective, the two of them must closely work together. In the event of disagreement, Honorable Speaker, in the event of disagreement, one of them must be allowed to have a last say. If each of them, in the absence of consensus, claim to be right, the common objective will either be unattained or it will be very seriously attained on court. We should be guided. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Chinda. And then after that, because if you listen to lawyers, you get confused. I've been confused, so I will now listen to members so that my head will be cleared. Honorable Chinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, Kingsley Chinda, I represent Obiabo Federal Constituency. I'm an Ikwere man from River State. My dear colleagues, I think the time we have spent discussing this issue, perhaps we would have concluded the debate. Honorable Osai raised a point of order that this motion should not be debated, that we had already referred it to his committee. And that is the issue we are discussing, whether we should uphold that point of order or not.
No, that's not the issue, Honorable Chinda. I don't know, you missed the point. We had concluded that, and then he raised another point of order when the motion has been presented to say that the communication is in breach of the provision of the Constitution and it shouldn't be debated. So that is the point of order upon which I'm seeking some kind of guidance to be able to make a ruling on it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for
silence, please. Please
drawing my attention properly to that. All I'm saying is that as a representative, this motion is incurably bad. But then, every member of this chamber has a right to be heard. And I think that the only thing we should do is to allow the majority leader to take his motion, and then we'll make our contributions for or against the motion and take a final decision on it. That's my own opinion, sir.
Honorable Keita.
Mr. Speaker, I'm just going to align myself with what Honorable Cho Sagari said. Mr. Speaker, there is an information that people need to know about this deal.
You, the Minister of Defense or the Minister of Finance?
No, sir. From me, sir. Sir, this deal that we wanted, this planes, this motion, sorry. I will still talk. No matter how long you distract me, I will still be patient and I will talk.
No, we are speaking on the procedure. If you don't have anything to contribute on the procedure, you may just take your seat. We don't need any information because you don't have. Even if you have, we will not trust you because you are not in custody. You are not the person officially in custody of the information, so you can't give us the information, please. We have to be very careful so that you don't get anything wrong, and then people take it as being the official information that should come to this parliament.
So, to do with the purchase of these planes, this is.
Were you involved in the purchase? Honorable Keita, talk on the procedure, not on any deal, because you are not involved in crafting any deal. Please. Honorable Babale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Kano. Mr. Speaker, I listened with rapt attention to the series of contributions. I listened to Mr. Speaker, I listened from the judicial perspective, from the legislative procedures and others. But Mr. Speaker, I want to implore this House. Yesterday we had a motion. We deliberated so much on it. And there are a series of emotion with regard to the killing in Nigeria. Some people even stated that we are in a state of war against terror. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask this House, in the era of war, does the law speak? If it speaks, How loud and to whom? Mr. Speaker, yesterday people, yes, we are fighting terror. Terrorism is an act of war, Mr. Speaker. So there are issues. I want us to be honorable and look at the national interest. And in the process of looking at the national interest, it's not about either it is a bill or either it is a motion. All we are after is we want curtail terrorism in Nigeria. And in the process of curtailing terrorism, the major casualties are the leaders, be it executive or the legislator. And today, Mr. Speaker, what we are witnessing today is an act of casualty. Why? Because we have issues with the executive with regard to the approval. So I want to implore this House, I want to implore my colleagues, it is not either it is a bill or a motion. Let's allow the leader to present the motion and take it as a motion and listen to those people and listen to the wisdom behind the spending. Then from there, we can take a decision and see if there is need for that spending or not. That is my take, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Well, I think we shouldn't belabor this issue. We have belabored it for close to an hour, and I will deliver my ruling on the matter. Order 1, Rule 2 of our standing order said in all cases not provided for hereinafter or by sessional or other orders, precedents or practices of the House shall by resolution regulate its procedure. What we are faced with is a bit difficult to actually play one way or the other. I'm totally in line with submissions by the likes of Honorable Shagari. I don't think, as a matter of law, there's a straightforward answer to these questions. Now we have a communication from the President. Straightforward, I can say if communication comes, we are duty-bound to consider it. But if you look at what the communication is asking us to do, that is where Honorable Osai and the likes who have spoken have issues with. And it deals with asking us to make appropriation for an expenditure. But the conventional appropriations have always been estimates of revenue which our Constitution provides. Now, we are not just debating this. There are people out there who are watching us, looking up to this House to stand by our oath of office, defend the truth, protect the Constitution. And we have to come to the determination whether what we are about to do is constitutional or not. Even if it is not, we still have the added responsibility, like Shagari has suggested, that in the national interest too, that Honorable Bashir has spoken about, whether something can be done. But to say we can't consider communications from the President, I think is off limits. We will have to look into it. So my ruling would be to still refer this matter to the Committee on Rules and Business to check the archives of the House or other parliaments elsewhere to see whether there's any precedent that we can ground this communication on. And then we'll proceed. In the absence of that, they will have to sit as leaders in the national interest to make a decision on this. So that is my ruling, please.
Point of order, sir.
Whip has a point of order.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleagues. I am Honorable Alassane Ado Dogwa, Mr. Speaker. I represent Dogwa Tudungwada Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker. I am from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I am under obligation. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I am under official obligation to rise now in exercise of my official duties as the Chief Whip of the House of Representatives today. Mr. Speaker, I want to repeat that I rise under obligation to exercise my duties as the Chief Whip of the House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, I am relying on Order 4, Rule 8 and 9.
Yes.
And I would like to quote directly. Mr. Speaker, Rule 4, Order 8, Rule 4, Order 8 says, when a member is speaking, no member may converse aloud or make any noise or disturbance to interrupt him. Rule 9 says, during a sitting, all members shall be silent or shall confer only in low tones. Mr. Speaker, with due respect to my colleagues, due respect to this institution, I want to insist that while we are in session, these relevant laws of our rules must be adhered to. With due respect to my members, no matter what opinion you hold, no matter what interest you have while you are on the floor of the House, every one of us that is recognized by the Speaker or whoever is presiding to speak must be allowed to speak in silence. But the situation where we are developing this kind of culture, unfortunately, where somebody speaks an opinion that differs from your own, and you now shout him down, to the extent that a presiding officer, the deputy speaker, was speaking, no matter what opinion he speaks, he should not be shouted down. And every other member on the floor of this House is entitled to this right because it is guaranteed in our rules. So, honorable members, I please want to plead with all of us to abide by the standing orders of the rules of our standing orders, to listen to whoever is speaking here in silence. And unfortunately, the nature we are going about it is a situation whereby will not help us collectively. When for any reason somebody offers a motion, or for any reason somebody rises to speak and his opinion is different from your own, and you shout him down, this will continue in the same manner. Every other person speaking will be shouted down. This is not a place for us to be shouting. It's a place to make laws, and we must make laws in absolute order and decorum. Mr. Speaker, this is my submission, and I hope members will please respect our rules. Thank you.
As you were speaking, Whip, the Chairman, House Committee on Financial Crimes was even backing you. And that is a legislative crime. So we refer you to the Legislative Court for trial. So, honorable members, we know we are all honorables. We have enacted these rules and adopted them ourselves, and we should agree to be bound by these rules. So, the point of order raised by the whip is absolutely was not well cited. That shall be an offense if you challenge the whip. As far as I'm concerned, it was well cited and well argued. So we consider the authority has been challenged, so you have to whip him very well. Except that you may have to convict him in his own court.
I may have to consult with principal officers to please to get him out of that office. We will remove him as chairman. It is a privilege.
Okay, so honorable colleagues, point of order upheld. Members, please, let's conduct ourselves with absolute decorum while we're in the hallowed chambers of this great institution. Chairman, rules in business.
Mr. Speaker, you have already ruled, but I just wish to amplify what the Chief Whip said. I know it was a slip of tongue. What he meant was Order 904. It was just a slip of tongue. But the point I'm making.
Chairman, are you challenging what I had?
No, what I'm saying is that it's not even the slip of tongue I want to talk about. You see, personally, I'm not an apologist for bad behavior. I attack it and I do it openly. But I have a job to do. As long as I continue to be chairman of rules and business, I will do that job here. people, in line with what the chief will be saying, people suspect motives, and even somebody even told me, you are apologizing for the president, and the following day you were crying that he is killing your people. I think we should stop imputing motives into what happens on the floor here. It's unfortunate because I will continue to talk whichever way that the tide moves.
Okay, the point has been made, so we'll move on. The second order of the day is a motion on urgent needs to reconstruct Dikwa Marte Monguno Federal Road in Borno State, standing in the name of Honorable MT Monguno. Honorable MT is now invited to move the motion.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marte Monguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. The motion reads,
Honorable Osai, please resume your seat. Please come back to your seat. Osai.
To reconstruct the Kwa Marte Monguno Federal Road in Borno State. The House notes that the Kwa Marte Monguno Road links Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State, to other parts of southern Borno, and it occupies 2/3 of the road network of southern Borno. Aware that Boko Haram insurgents have buried mines along the road, that's making it unmotorable. Reports that following success recorded in the fight against the Boko Haram by the military, people along the road that were displaced by Boko Haram were advised to return to their ancestral towns and villages. Also aware that the advice could not be heeded because of the deplorable condition of the road, which needs reconstruction. Acknowledge that reconstructing the Kwa Monguno Marte Road to a motorable state would ease the relocation of the inhabitants of the villages and towns along the road. Resolve to urge the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing to, without delay, commence the reconstruction of the Kwa Marte Monguno Road in order to facilitate the return of the people displaced by the activities of Boko Haram insurgents. Mandate the Committee on Works and Appropriation to make provisions for the reconstruction of the Kwa Marte Monguno Federal Road in the 2018 estimates. I so move.
Second, Honorable Munir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Munir Babadan Awundi. I represent Kumbota Federal Constituency of Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I would like to support this motion, mother of all motions, ably read by Honorable MT Monguno. I so second.
It's a motion relating to infrastructure, as in line with the provision of relevant rules. I put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Third order of the day is a motion on urgent need to establish an army barracks in Mubi, Adamawa State, standing in the names of Honorable Adamudiyu Kamale and Honorable Abdurrahman Shuaibu. Honorable Kamale is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Adamudiyu Kamale. I represent Michika Madagali Federal Constituency. I'm from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I stand up to move that this Honorable House note that Mubi is one of the most populated, commercial viable and strategic towns bordering Michika, Uba, Kong, all of which are bordering the deadly Sambisa forest, being used as a major hideout by the Boko Haram insurgents. Aware that there is no military barracks in Mubi, in spite of its strategic location, which also include bordering the Republic of Cameroon. Observe that the nearest army barracks to Mubi are located in Yola and Biu in Borno State, which are almost 300 kilometers away and therefore could not to the advantage of the teeming population in Mubi and nearby local governments in circumstances that require rapid response for security challenges. Further notes, Mr. Speaker, that Mubi is the most viable in terms of springing of insurgents, yet very vulnerable due to low security presence with absence of military barracks despite the strategic location. high population density and commercial center. Mr. Speaker, this House should be worried that the lives and property of innocent Nigerians in Mubi and all the surrounding local governments of Madagali, Michika, Meaha, Mubi South, Hong, and Gombe will be continued to be jeopardized against the spirit of the Constitution, which declares the security and welfare of the people of this country as the primary purpose of government if urgent action is not taken to establish an army barracks in Mubi. This House, therefore, Mr. Speaker, is called to resolve: 1. Call on the federal government of Nigeria to establish an army barrack in Mubi town to address the multiple security challenges in the zone. And 2. Mandate the Committee on Army and Defense to ensure compliance on this resolution. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Honorable Abdurrahman Shuaibu is the part sponsor of the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. My name is Abdurrahman Shuaibu. I represent Mubi North, Mubi South, and Maiha Federal Constituency. I'm from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this motion ably moved by Honorable Adamu Kamale. I so second.
This is a motion relating to provision of infrastructure, and I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Fourth order of the day is a motion on need to intervene in the non-payment of entitlements of retirees standing in the name of Honorable Albert Abiodun Adeogun. Honorable Adeogun is now invited to move the motion. Rules and business appears he is not on the floor.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, he's not on the floor. I therefore rise to move that we step down item number 4 on the order paper. Honorable Abiodun Adeogun is not on the floor.
Motion step down by leave of the House. Fifth order of the day is a motion on need to address the excessive charges for driver's license by the Federal Road Safety Commission, standing in the name of Honorable Johnson Oguma. Honorable Oguma is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and my distinguished colleagues. I'm Honorable Johnson Oguma. I represent all the people of Isako Federal Constituency here from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I rise this morning to move a motion on the need to address the excessive charges for driver's license by the Federal Road Safety Commission. The House notes the increasing number of drivers on Nigeria roads and the need to certify them and being fit to the roads through acquiring driver's licenses. Aware that the approved rate by the Joint Task Force for driver's license is 6,350 for a 3-year license and 10,000 naira for 5-year license. But on the contrary, Nigeria has charged 80,000 for a 3-year license and 25,000 naira for a 5-year license. Also aware of the general outcry that the process of acquiring driver license is becoming too cumbersome. We take about 90 to 180 days to process, and in case of a first-timer, driver's licenses are issued in most cases without undergoing the mandatory test. Concerned that due to excessive charges and delay in release of driver's licenses, prospective drivers resort to self-help by driving without due documents, and in some cases resort to forging the licenses, which may at the long run expose road users to unqualified drivers and loss of revenue to government. Determined to ensure that driver's licenses are processed at the official rates and within the shortest period of time, while ensuring that proper training and tests are carried out for first-time applicants. The House resolved to mandate the Committee on Federal Road Safety Commission to investigate the high cost delay, and lack of due process in the issuance of driver's licenses in Nigeria, and report back within 8 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Seconder. Honorable Ishaka.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable members. Honorable Ibrahim Ayokule Ishaka is my name. I represent the very good people of Ifo, Ewekoro Federal Constituency from Ogun State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by my honorable colleague. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Oguma, please lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Johnson Aguahide Oguma. I represent all the people of Etsako Federal Constituency. I'm from Edo State. Mr. Speaker and my honorable colleagues, this motion is necessary because of the exorbitant charges and the difficulties that prospective renewal of driver's licenses and newcomers into and new people and fresh people seeking fresh driver's licenses, the difficulties they are going through. And Mr. Speaker, as I stand here, I have a reference point, a statement made by confirming this motion, a statement made by the boss of Road Safety Corps, Mr. Oboye Oyeyemi, who stated, if you permit me to read, he said, official rate required for acquiring a 3-year duration driver license remained 350. And he was urging the motorists. He said motorists must fight for their rights to ensure they are not overbid. This was a statement made in June last year. And as we speak, Mr. Speaker, the black market rate for a 3-year driver's license remained 10,000. And the black market rate for a 5 years remained 18,000. And the black market rate for 5 years driver's license remained 25,000. They have created bottlenecks along the line that even a driver's license that ordinarily you would have waited after you have satisfied all other conditions. You pay and you wait and pick. Takes a minimum of 3 to 6 months and at times 1 year before you get it. All these bottlenecks in road safety are laid down just to create room for the black market race. Today you can't walk into an office of the Road Safety Corps and get your driver's license renewed within even 3 months. It'll be so difficult just because of the extortion. And to the extent that even the boss has confirmed this same issue. So I'm appealing to the conscience of all of us in this house to please speak to this issue so that the extortion and the difficulties that is involved, that is creating so much stress for Nigeria, to the extent that people now resort to forging driver's license, and some unauthorized drivers are driving, creating hazard on the road. Even the revenue that is supposed to due to government is not coming. So, Mr. Speaker, on that note, I move that we support this motion so that this issue is investigated and brought to normal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any contributor? None? Honorable Datti Garba.
Right Honorable Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, I remain Honorable Garba Datti Mohammed. I represent Sabongari Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, these issues have been coming up off and on all the time when there is any agency of government make an increase in either tax or tariff, will come to the house and start lamenting. But the Constitution is very, very clear
we have brought a bill here on these delegated powers that has given most of these agencies power to increase. But the Constitution is very clear on the procedures to make this increase or decrease in taxes tariff. And Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I'll still go back to read Section 59, subsection B of the Constitution. The provision of this section shall apply to a bill for the imposition or increase in any tax, duty, or fee, or any reduction, withdrawal, or cancellation thereof. Mr. Speaker, we have passed this. A special committee was constituted on delegated powers. This is almost 2.5 years, no report on this, and most of these things are within our powers. That is why today you find any other higher institution or agency will just wake up and make increase of tax without recourse to the National Assembly. I think, Mr. Speaker, we should take this issue seriously and force this committee, or if the committee cannot handle it, the Speaker should dissolve that committee and form another committee to look at this issue of delegated powers. If not, every day we will come and debate in this House on the issue of increase or decrease in taxes, tariffs, and other forms of taxes. So, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So, any further contributions? I put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Sixth order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on general principle of bill for an act to establish Federal University, Wukari, and to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters, standing in the name of the House Leader. Honorable members who recall the bill was transmitted from the Senate seeking concurrence of the House, read the first time on Wednesday, 21st March 2018. Now I invite the leader to move the bill be now read the second time. Acting Leader.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marke Monguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move that a bill for an act to establish the Federal University, Wukari, and to make comprehensive provision for its management and administration and for related matters, House Bill 810, be read the second time. I so move.
Seconder. Honorable DC.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Chief DC Lovett. I rise to second the bill and for second reading every moved by my leader. I so second.
Leader.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I remain Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marke Monguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, this bill is one of the bills that came from the Senate for concurrence. And then the genesis of this bill is that it has been passed by the National Assembly, and Mr. President, in his wisdom, decided to withhold assent to this bill. And Senate passed it, and then it was brought to this House for concurrence to override the veto of Mr. President. Sorry, to override the withholding of assent by Mr. President. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to state that I don't know the reason why Mr. President decided to withhold his assent to this bill, because this university is already in existence. And it is the only federal university in Taraba State that is cited in Wukari. What this bill essentially seeks to do is to give legal framework to an institution that is already in existence. Just to give legal backing to an institution that is already in existence. But that notwithstanding, Mr. President decided to withhold assent to that bill. So I am calling upon this Honorable House to also concur with the position of the Senate and then pass this bill for second reading, having regard to the fact that the university is already in existence and the bill only seeks to give legal teeth.
Professor Moji
and that is essentially why we are here as
approach
of the 1999 Constitution as amended to make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of this country. I submit. Thank you. It's already next.
Honorable, okay, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff. I represent the good people of Buruku, my dear colleagues. I'm from Plenary State. Mr. Speaker, ordinarily I wouldn't say anything.
Professor Mojid Alabi.
Because, like the...
Can you go back to your seat, please? Order in the House.
Like the acting leader has put it, the university is already in existence. The idea was just to give it legal backing. So I'm even surprised that the presidency rejected this one. My issue has been with the setting at the rate with which we set up universities on this floor. If it comes to just passing a law through parliament, my village, my immediate village will have a university. You know, so for this one, yes. But for those bills that we want to establish universities where there is none on this, I think we should tread with caution. Otherwise, at the end of the day, we'll have issues with implementation, because if you override presidential assent and tomorrow there are no resources for establishing that university, what you have succeeded in doing is to make criminals out of the executive arm of government. And I don't think we should do that, knowing from the start that it's not going to be. It's okay to try to let the people know that you are trying for them, but we shouldn't insist when that does happen. Thank you so much.
Honorable Rima.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Rumande Shawulu Kwewum, representing Takum Donga Osa and Yangtu Federal Constituency. Honorable Speaker, on this bill that is coming for this purpose, some observations were raised by Mr. President on the wordings of the act, of the bill. And what we found out that the bill is the same way that all the bills of all federal universities that were set up, they had the same phrases. There was nothing different. So it's possible that maybe Mr. President was misadvised. So it's important that this bill has come up. There is nothing, the university is already in existence. The law establishing the university, the proposed law is the same as with all other federal universities. So there was actually no reason why whoever was handling advising the president on that one misadvised him. So it was important, therefore, for us to join the Senate in passing this bill so that the university can have legal footing to operate the way it needs to operate. The university is already functional. Things are already moving in the place. And so we just need the law to be passed, to be assented to, or the veto overriding, so that the university can have legal backing to perform the duties that it's supposed to perform. It is not the same thing with the issues that are being raised by the chairman, House Rules and Business. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
So, honorable colleagues, I'll put the question. The matter is on a university that is already in existence, not that they are seeking to establish it. So the question is, the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University Ukari and to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters. Second reading.
Okay, Honorable Chinda has a point of order. No, I've not referred the bill yet. The bill is referred to Committee of the Whole. Then, Honorable Chinda, you can raise your point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my dear colleagues. Kingsley Chinda, I represent Obiabo Federal Constituency. I'm an Ikwere man from River State. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, my point of order is on Order 6. That is privilege. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, the gamut of this point of order is hinged on the House votes and proceedings of Tuesday, the 24th day of April 2018. You will recall that on that day, the communication from Mr. President was read, and I raised the constitutional point of order that was extensively argued on the floor of these chambers for over 1 hour. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I realize that the votes and proceedings of that day copiously omitted that point of order. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I have a right not only to be heard, but to be recorded. And members of these chambers also have a right to be given the proper and true proceedings of each day. I therefore pray that this issue, this omission be considered and a corrigendum be made to reflect the true proceedings of that day. Thank you, sir.
Clerk, I hope you heard Honorable Chinda's submission. In relation to his contributions that were not reflected on the other paper. So what happened? Okay, Honorable Chinda, I've directed the clerk to note and ensure that the corrigendum is met to include, reflect that in our official records. So that should be done without delay. Seventh order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of Bill for an Act to provide for establishment of the Chartered Institute of Treasury Management for the promotion, the study, and practice of property managing the Treasury as a safeguard against fraud, outright embezzlement, emasculation, misappropriation, misapplication of resources placed in the custody of fund managers and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable E.Y. Okejev. Honorable members will recall the bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 21st March 2018. I now invite Honorable Okejev to move the bill be now read the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okejev, I represent the good people of Buruku, my dear colleagues. I'm from Benue State. I rise to move that a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Chartered Institute of Treasury Management for the promotion, the study, and practice of properly managing the Treasury as a safeguard against fraud, outright embezzlement, emasculation, misappropriation, misapplication of resources placed in the custody of fund managers, and for related matters be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I so move.
80 seconds, Honorable Obaga.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Sylvester Obaga, I represent Abakaliki, Izifira constituency from Ebonyi State. I stand to second the motion as moved by the Chairman House Rules and Business. I so second.
Honorable Okejev.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues. Mr. Speaker, this bill is a product of the committee to reform our laws that was put together by the Speaker in pursuance of the legislative agenda of the 8th Assembly. They recommended this, and the House, in its wisdom, allowed this bill to go through all the stages and indeed the public hearing. It was passed by both houses of the National Assembly and sent to the President for his assent. The President, however, withheld his assent and gave two reasons. Number one, that the phrase treasury management is not defined in the bill. And number two, that greater clarity may be required regarding the impact of the bill on the Central Bank of Nigeria's regulation of treasury managers in banks, and the relationship between the proposed institute and other existing professional institutes that regulate treasury managers in Nigeria. Those were the two reasons the president gave for withholding assent. It is obvious from the language of Mr. President that he has no quarrel with the intent and purpose of this bill. Only those two areas that have been identified. Now, to show that we are working in tandem, this bill has been brought back, and in furtherance of the provisions of Section 58, subsection 5 of the 1999 Constitution, and Order 12, Rule 2 and C of the standing orders of the House of Representatives, it has been brought back. The attempt is to override presidential veto. But in overriding presidential veto, since the bill is going through all the stages, first reading, second reading, third reading before passage, we are allowed to make inputs and take into consideration the concern of Mr. President. So since we have already gone through all of this process, I don't think I should bother you with why it is necessary to have this bill. We have already gone through all of that. Here we are going through second reading of this bill. I urge you, my colleagues, to allow once again this bill to go for second reading so that we fast track the whole thing and allow it to be allowed the overriding of presidential veto to take place with the impulse that are coming from the presidency. Thank you, my dear colleagues.
Any contributor to the debate? So I put the question. The question is the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to provide for establishment of the Chartered Institute of Treasury Management for the promotion, study, and practice of properly managing the treasury as a safeguard against fraud, outright embezzlement, emasculation, misappropriation, misapplication of resources placed in the custody of fund managers and for related matters. Second reading.
The bill is referred to Committee of the Whole. Eighth order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on general principle of a bill for an act to establish Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership and promote the practice of public management in Nigeria and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Sylvester Obaga. Honorable members who recall the bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 21st March 2018. Now I invite Honorable Sylvester Obaga to move that the bill be now read second time.
Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name remains Honorable Sylvester Obaga, representing Abakaliki Izi, Thra constituency. I'm from Ebonyi State. I stand to move for a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership and promote the practice of public management in Nigeria and for related matters. Be read the second time. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, Chairman, Rules and Business.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the second reading of Bill number 8 as moved by Honorable Sylvester Obaga. I so second.
Obaga, please lead the debate.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this bill has the same issue with what we read on the seventh item of this other paper. The bill on Chartered Institute of Public Management was passed by the both chambers, communicated to Mr. President, and Mr. President gave only one reason for withholding assent on this bill, that non-members or non-persons belonging to this institute should not practice the position of public management. And I draw the attention of my dear colleagues and Mr. Speaker to the fact that even though one has passed law in any university, does not give him the power to practice. It still goes to the law school to be given the authority to practice. Even as engineers, you have to register with foreign for you to practice. And in this professional issue, professional institute, what they are asking is that their members register with them for them to give control over them. And for any institution to operate at the level of international best practices, that institute must have a legal framework. At the same time, this institution is an existing institution, and if the only reason adduced by Mr. President is that others should be allowed to practice in this profession, whether they have registered in the institute or not, it is left for the Parliament to go through the powers of the National Assembly as in section 58.5 and in the rules of the House, or the rule 12B and C. And in following this process, Mr. Speaker, I may appeal to members that we are not going into the processes of taking the two-thirds majority, having allowed this bill to pass the first and second reading, that at the committee of the whole, we look at the communication of Mr. President in respect to this bill, and then do the needful to allow the institute to have a legal backing for them to operate on international best practice. I so submit, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Any contributor to the debate? So I put the question. And the question is a bill. We now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes of it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Public Management of Nigeria to provide for the control of its membership and promote the practice of public management in Nigeria and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee of the Whole. Ninth order of the day, honorable colleagues, is consideration of report of the Committee on Police Affairs on the bill for an act to amend the Explosive Act, Chapter E18, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, relating to their regulations, penalties for defaulters, to make provisions for the control of importation, manufacture, distribution, storage, possession, use of firecrackers and explosive, to repeal the Explosive Act, Chapter E18, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and reenact an explosive, to reenact the Explosive Act 2017, to make comprehensive provision for the use and control of explosive in Nigeria for matters connected therewith. Honorable members will recall that on Wednesday, 31st January 2018, the House and Committee of the Whole deferred consideration of the report and constituted a committee to critically examine the bill and report back to the House. I now invite Honorable Okejev to brief the House on the matter. Thereafter, Honorable Ali Rudawdajika to move a motion for his consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okejev, I represent the good people of Buruku. My dear colleagues, I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, indeed, we did the job. Those of us to whom the matter was, I think it was with two others, we did the job and did some minor corrections, and the report is now ready for consideration. But Honorable Jika is not around. Honorable Shaulu, who is part of the bill, was mandated to do it in his absence. So if you allow, Honorable Shaulu will go on and move the report.
So, Honorable Shauru, please move for the consideration of the report.
Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Remande Shawulu Kwewum, representing Takum Donga Osa and Yangtu Federal Constituency in Taraba State. I do move that the House do consider the report of the Committee on Police Affairs on a bill for an act to amend the Explosives Act Cap E18 Laws of the Federation 2004 relating to their regulations, penalties for defaulters, to make provisions for the control of importation, manufacture, distribution, storage, possession, and use of firecrackers and explosives, to repeal the Explosives Act Cap E18, Laws of the Federation 2004, and reenact the Explosives Act 2017 to make comprehensive provisions for the use and control of explosives in Nigeria and for matters connected therewith. I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Seconder, Honorable Dokun Bonvik.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Odebo Michego is my name. I represent the good people of Surulere Ogula Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Sauru. I so move.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, later. The 10th order of the day is consideration of report of the Committee on National Security and Intelligence on the investigative hearing on the sources and actual ownership of the $43 million recovered from a residential apartment at Osborne Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. Honorable members who recall the report was laid on Thursday, April 26, 2018. Honorable Aminu Sani Jaji will move for its consideration.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I remain Honorable Aminu Sani Jaji, representing Kauranda Moda Magaji Federal Constituency. I'm from Zamfara State. May I move that the House do consider the report of the Committee on National Security and Intelligence on the investigation hearing on the source and actual ownership of the $43 million recovered from a residential apartment at Osborne Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, HR 169/2017, and approve the recommendation therein. I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Bago.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Mohammed Umar Bago. I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable member, sir. I so move.
I'm even surprised that Bago is still on the floor by this time. Maybe there's a mischief in the making. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Acting Leader.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marke Monguno Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move that the House do resolve the Committee of the Whole to consider reports. I so move.
Rules and business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as moved by the acting leader of the House. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Before we resolve, let me announce the composition of this ad hoc committee on investigation into conditions of service and operational costs of MDS of the federal government. Membership, it's Honorable Dr. M.S. Abdul, Honorable Rita Ojo, Honorable Goodluck Opia, Honorable Kayode Oladele, Honorable Zakari Mohammed, Honorable Mohammed Soba, Honorable Wayo Benjamin, Honorable Diri Doe, to be chaired by Honorable Sani Zoro. Chairman. House hereby resolving the Committee of the Whole to consider the reports.
Honorable colleagues, the first report to be considered is that of the House Committee on Police Affairs on a bill for an act to amend the Explosive Act Chapter E18 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 relating to their regulation, penalties for defaulters, to make provision for the control of importation, manufacture, distribution, storage, possession and use of firecrackers and explosives, to repeal the Explosive Act Chapter E18 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and reenact the Explosive Act 2017 to make comprehensive provisions for the use and control of explosives in Nigeria and for other matters connected therewith. House Bill 379, 498, 552 and 670 of 2017. And I invite the Chairman House Committee on Police Affairs to speak to the report.
Chairman, I need protection from Zachary, sir. Thank you, sir.
Ali Ruchika has given the job to one of the members of the committee, and that's the chairman, Ami.
Chairman, you will recall that earlier this year we came to consider this report, and what is at stake in the report is that the law governing explosives in the country is a presently it's a one-page law that was made during the colonial era. Then explosives were used in the mining industry, and so the Minister of Mines was in charge of giving license to people and regulating the use of explosives. But of course, times have changed around the world, and we know that explosives were extensively used by the Boko Haram and other terrorist organizations before. So this act and the related ones, this bill is a combination of several bills that were proposed by members, sponsored by members. The intent of it is to regulate the use of explosives and make our regulatory framework to be up to the standard of what is being practiced across the world. That explosives are not just industrial products, they are security products. And so we have to know how they are manufactured. We have to have a database of the people that are handling explosives, so that if anything happens, we'll be able to, the security agencies will be able to track and know where these explosives are stored, how they are transported, and how they are being used. So in brief, this bill seeks to bring up to international standard the laws regulating the use, the manufacture, the storage, and transportation of explosives. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, this report has 31 clauses. Abiante, if you recall, this report has been taken once on the floor of the House. It was the numbering that made us defer it. So if you look into your archives, I know you have this report. So it's the House that must set up the archive for you in your office. Like I said, the report has 31 clauses. Let's go ahead and consider the clauses. Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3, Clause 4, Clause 5, Clause 6, Clause 7. Diri, what are you doing? Clause 8, Clause 9, Clause 10, Clause 11, Clause 12. Clause 12. Clause 13, Clause 14, Clause 15, Clause 16, Clause 17, Clause 18, Clause 19, Clause 20, Clause 21, Clause 22, Clause 23. Honorable Jaji, your report is about to be considered, so you have to pay attention to this one. Clause 24, Clause 25, Clause 26, Clause 27, Clause 28, Clause 29, Clause 30, Clause 31, explanatory memorandum, long title of the bill. Honorable colleagues, the next report to be considered is that of the House Committee on Interior, on investigation, on hearing on the sources and actual ownership of the $43 million recovered from a residential apartment at Osborne Road, Ikoyi, Lagos.
Do they call it interior?
Sorry, National Security and Intelligence. Sorry, National Security and Intelligence. House Committee on National Security and Intelligence, on investigative hearing on the sources and actual ownership of the $43 million recovered from a residential apartment at Osborne Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. House Resolution number 169/2017. And I invite the Chairman House Committee on National Security and Intelligence to briefly speak to the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. I remain once again Honorable Aminu Sadi Jaji, representing Oran Namuda, Brother Magaji, Federal Constituency, and from Zamfara State. Honorable Chairman, honorable colleagues, this issue was referred to the Committee on National Security and Intelligence exactly last year, 2017, April. And then after due consultation and then engaging all relevant stakeholders, then the committee were able to deliberate on issues. And despite the fact that we are trying to, in line of what in the spirit of the way and manner the agency are working, we try to exonerate the agency simply because, many people, they were considering the institution integrity, including the committee as well as the National Assembly. So in so doing, I know that really the committee were frustrated in the course of doing our assignment. But all the same, we try to see that at least we do justice in our investigation. That is the reason why we're able to come up with a lot of recommendation, resolution, and the findings, so that it will give the House mandate to consider all these issues that raised while we conducted our investigative hearing. So for this, I would urge the honorable colleagues to see the nature of this institution, as well as the issues surrounding all this intervention form, which was given to most of these intelligence communities in the previous administration, which according to many information or insinuation that many people have about this intervention fund, there is a misutilization of this fund. And then in this regard, I would like the House to consider this one, and then to consider more ways and how to go about these recommendations and findings of our committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. House Committee on Security and Intelligence. The report has 5 recommendations. We now go ahead to consider the recommendation. So recommendation 1, Chairman, Rules and Business.
I don't want to just carry anything. Mr. Chairman, well, personally, I don't know. I don't have the benefit of any report. So what I'm constrained to consider are the recommendations. Now, I've gone through the recommendations. We are on 1 now, but I've gone through all of them. And if you take that against the backdrop of the assignment that this committee was given to do, it was to on investigative hearing on the sources and actual ownership of the $43 million recovered from a residential business. If you look at the recommendation, all of them, including the number 1, they are just speculative, that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission that spearheaded the discovery and recovery of the monies in question should follow the judicial process to ensure the forfeiture of the monies and the apartment to the federal government. Ensure diligent prosecution of all. I don't know, because there are no findings. We don't even know whether the identities of those, the identity of the person that has the property, the apartment, and the real identities of those who left the money there. We don't know as it is, because the report is not there. I don't know.
I will give Chairman. I want you to listen attentively to colleagues. You must have noted what the Chairman Rules and Business, posited. So I'm going to allow other members to list their observation, then you now react. So Rita.
My own observation is coming from the findings too. Number 6. The National Intelligence Agency officials that appeared before the committee were unwilling to make necessary disclosure under the guise of doctrine of need to know, that guides and limit the accessibility or otherwise of the officers to operational details, including logistics and funding. And another one again, that there is no document that was submitted to the committee on this investigation. Mr. Chairman, sir, my fear is this: on what basis was these recommendations to be carried? And 2, if they were not free to speak or talk to the committee, and the recommendations that they should be prosecuted, who and who should be prosecuted? And on which basis? What is the documentary evidence you are going to place for them that this is where they are? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Right Honorable Chairman. In addition to all that has been said by the earlier contributors, I want to observe that there's hardly any nexus between findings through observations and the recommendation. let me say, in none of the findings were we told how they came about the remaining $202 million. If there was such a finding, then you throw more light on it to the extent you have and say you want further investigation. This is not dropping directly from the findings that are listed herein. And if you look at the terms of reference for this investigation, I join the Chairman Rules and Business to say that looking at this recommendation, justice was not done to the terms of reference. Thank you.
Aminu Suleiman.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. My colleagues, I'm from Kano State. My name is Comrade Aminu Suleiman. I will differ from those who did not see very clear merit. I saw plenty, and I'm neither a member of this committee. But from the report, which I have the privilege of reading, I am comfortable with 3 of the recommendations, 1, 2, 3, and just require information, Mr. Speaker, on 4 and 5. Because the first recommendation is presupposing that the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, who conducted the investigation, should proceed to carry out this first, second, and third recommendation. I think from their function, they have role and right to play here. But my question to the committee is on item 4 or 5, where the committee suggested that the governor of Central Bank, having disregarded the invitation of the committee, should be sanctioned and reprimanded. I do not know how EFCC will play that role on the governor of Central Bank. Ditto for item number 5. So perhaps minus this observation and questions, I doff my hat for the committee.
Shoaib, are you no longer interested?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable colleagues, my name is Abdurrahman Shoaib. I represent Moving On, Moving South, and Maiha. Mr. Chairman, from the recommendations, I think they have not concluded some of the issues. I think the source of the funds is already established as intervention funds coming from government, and I think the ownership also is already established as NIA. But we need further investigation on these issues. That's what I think the recommendation is saying. I think we can still consider the recommendations.
Dr. John Deere.
Thank you, Chairman, our colleagues. Dr. John Deere is my name from Benue State. I'm speaking as a member of the committee just to throw a little more light on the conclusions.
A member of the committee, allow those who are not members of that committee to finally, collate their observation. Then you and the chairman can now throw light. So in that respect, I will recognize the last 3 contributors, Simon Arabo, Sadiq Ibrahim, and Yinka Jai. So after the 3, I will take you, then take the chairman of the committee, then we finally consider the report if the House so wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Simon Arabo is my name. I represent our constituency. I just want to look at the report vis-a-vis the recommendations in the context of national security. I remember the day this motion was taken. I believe that one of the recommendations should have been that EFCC should apply some caution on issues of national security. There is no country in the world that does not run undercover operations. No country does not run undercover operations. And you don't pay agents in undercover operations through money. Through banks. The chair of the committee should know. And that is why they have this problem of getting very serious information from the staffers of the NIA. I believe that even if we are going to, because the recommendations more or less commended EFCC. I have issues on that. If you look at the National Securities Act, we cannot do something that will undermine our national security. They should apply caution on matters like this. That is just a general overview. I am sure the committee knows what I'm talking about. It's an issue of national security, and I still maintain this. There is no country that does not operate undercover operations. The CIA have agents in it. They don't pay them through banks. We know. They don't pay them. They use cash to pay them. Having said that, I also want to align myself with the recommendation on. One of the recommendations should actually be to make EFCC to toe the line of protecting our national security.
Yes. From what you have said now, they will react, but if I follow your argument very well, that means the investigation into this particular matter in the first instance shouldn't have taken place in the name of security, and that most of these recommendations that are itemized are going to be of security risk, because eventually that the governor of Central Bank did not appear, that means it's covered from the sentiment you have expressed, and there's so many other sentiments that they are going to reply. Sadiq, and you are free if eventually we decide to consider the report to now, in your own opinion, throw lights on the supposed recommendation you want to contain there, and members will consider it. So Sadiq.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My own is on recommendation 8 on page 7. On recommendation, findings and observations.
It was Chairman Rules and Business that started this. He spoke globally about the report. So I just felt I should allow members to speak globally. If you have to consider specific recommendation, let's go ahead. Then you can now make your contribution. So finally, Honorable Adeyinka Ajayi.
Thank you, Chair. My observation is based again on the general theme of the recommendation, particularly in view of what we have in the document as the findings and observations. We have two recommendations that don't appear to have any basis in the findings. We have one that suggests that $202 million should further be investigated.
Give floor to one of the members of the committee, Dr. John Deere. Then we have Jaji. 2 minutes so that we can.
Yeah, just to throw a little more light. The concern by Chairman Committee on Rules and Business as to the recommendations not being tied to the heading of the investigation. I'd like to draw the attention of the House to the findings and observations of this report. If you read that under number 3, Roman number 3, you discover we have findings here that Ambassador Oke had admitted that the money actually belongs to NIA.
Not this report, the other one.
And from our investigations, when we invited the NSA boss, the NSA, when he came, he actually also confirmed that from his reports and records, he discovered that the former president had actually given an approval for about $250 million for such operations and for other contracts to be executed, special projects in NIA. So this was just the balance of what they had spent. Chairman, am I right? Chairman, my chairman, I'm trying to help you out, Chair. In the course of this investigation, NSA was invited, and he actually confirmed that from his records and investigations, he discovered that the former president had approved and released over $250 million for special projects and covert operations in NIA. Now, what was found in Ikoyi is a balance of such money that was spent and was kept there. And indeed, that building too, from our investigations and documents that we saw, at least from the company that was registered, we discovered it was actually a property belonging to the wife of the then NIA boss and his son, named Ayodele. So the ownership of the property where the money was found is not in question. Also, the ownership of that money is also not in question. It's only that it is not captured explicitly in the recommendations, but it is properly captured in the findings. And that is what I want to add to this. Chair.
There's a procedure. Chairman, is there anything you want to add to that?
I think going by the suggestion and contribution by the honorable colleagues, as well as the sensitivity of the matter, maybe I will ask, maybe we can step it down so that we can review the report, so that we can bring back to the House.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I expected that part, particularly after Simon Arabo has spoken. It has a lot of security implication, and we have to be careful on what we read to the world. So, by the indulgence of the House, we stand down the report by the leave of the House. Acting Leader.
Honorable Chairman, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Moguno. I represent Marke Moguno, the Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move that the House revert to plenary to report progress.
Rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion that the House do revert back to plenary to report progress. I so second.
The House hereby reverts back to plenary to report progress. Honorable colleagues, the House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Police Affairs on a bill for an act to amend the Explosives Act Chapter E18 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 relating to their regulations, penalties for defaulters, to make provisions for the control of importation, manufacture, distribution, storage, possession, and use of firecrackers and explosives, to repeal the Explosive Act Chapter E18 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and reenact the Explosive Act 2017 to make comprehensive provision for the use and control of explosives in Nigeria and for matters connected therewith, and approved clauses 1 to 31, the explanatory memorandum, and the long title of the bill. The House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on National Security and Intelligence on the investigative hearing on the sources and actual ownership of the $43 million recovered from a residential apartment at Osborne Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, and deferred its consideration. Acting Leader.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I hereby move that the House do adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as ably moved. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Acting Leader.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I hereby move that the House do adjourn to Tuesday, the 1st of May 2018. Wednesday, okay. Wednesday, the 2nd of May 2018 by 11 a.m. I so move.
Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by the acting leader of the House. I so second.
I advise people like Babangida to always listen. It's only Tuesday that is public holiday, which is May 1, May Day. We are not concerned about Children's Day 27. So the House stands adjourned till Wednesday, 2nd of May 2018, 11 a.m.